How y'all doing? This is Robert Band, your business finance expert. I'm here today with Jesper Sahlberg of Maxxsure. Maxxsure is a cyber risk management platform, which I thought was worthwhile sharing. I've gotten to know Jesper and Maxxsure, and anything having to do with cyber risk management and anybody involved in that should know about Maxxsure. Jesper, give us 20 seconds on you and Maxxsure.
Certainly. Glad to be with you here today, Robert. So Maxxsure is a solution that helps a company to identify, quantify, and manage the complete portfolio of digital business risk, also known as cyber risk. And my role in this is, having been a CISO in a prior company, I help clients and companies to enable their leadership to connect with cyber risk and adopt a strategy where they get to be involved in understanding full financial loss potential and really drive the cyber risk strategy for the company and protect financial livelihood. So it's a business risk management, but with a digital aspect.
Great. So just to be clear, Maxxsure is spelled Maxxsure, and Maxxsure.com is the website. And okay, so I want to ask a few questions. What role does Maxxsure play in a company's risk management?
So traditional enterprise risk management has had some challenges in the sense of dealing with the dynamic nature of cyber risk. It's much more dynamic and ongoing, and that is something that we can help accomplish to bring forward to a leadership group to understand the full financial loss potential from every aspect of their digital operational footprint. And in financial language, make them understand what it takes to protect financial livelihood. It also brings an accelerated view into how a company and the fiduciary leadership will be judged in the aftermath of a cyber incident, be it a data breach or inadvertent data exposure or ransomware or some other disruptive event. So it helps a leadership to see from the outside in and inside out what will they be judged upon in the case that a cyber incident takes place. And that's something they can turn around and use to demonstrate they are not negligent, but they have been diligent, and that'll help curb some of the longer term financial ramifications.
So Maxxsure is like a mirror held up to the management of the company that reveals whether they thought through all their risks, if they implemented mitigation strategies, if they transferred risk by way of insurance, if they baked in a risk avoidance culture into their enterprise, and then are they monitoring ongoing risks and adjusting. And so that basically is a dashboard of reporting that helps them understand how they're doing in their overall risk management practice. Is that right?
That is very accurate, yes. And we make this very attainable and understandable by not using a lot of technicality and jargon, but by translating all these different aspects of a company's operation, be it people, process, and technology, and make it comparable through a performance metric scale we call the M-score. And it's a scale of 0 to 1,000 that allows a non-technical leadership to see and understand where are the imbalances in the cyber resiliency, the inherent resiliency the operation has to cyber risks. And then it helps them point towards where to focus, how to improve, and set goals, and then follow up and make sure it happens.
Okay, so this is probably a good time to get into the pillars of good risk management, cyber risk management. So just briefly, not too technically, Jesper, go through what are the pillars that are keys to cyber risk management and which your M-score and Maxxsure measure.
Certainly. So there's an overall M-score to the organization that reflects as a whole, where are you today on a scale from 0 to 1,000, 1,000 being the best. Under that, it is broken down into two different layers of the operation. We call it the enterprise layer, where we will take organizational factors, look at what are the current activities and awareness of cyber risk, cybersecurity. How is it, where are you today with managing that from an organizational point of view? And then we look at what industry are you in. External data is brought in. We look at situational factors, where what geography footprint do you have, and things of that nature to really normalize your score against any industry, any geography, and make yourself be able to reflect and compare with any other organization from the external perspective. Internally, there are three other pillars to it that we call the governance pillar and the application and infrastructure. Those are the points where we take data from inside the organization and we bring out to clarity how are you performing and what are the known vulnerabilities that are exploitable and present real risk. And again, cyber risk is more than just bad actors. It is also about internal employees, current and former. Those are actually the top 2 out of 5 cyber risks. Root cause behind cyber incident events. So external threat actors are only like a third out of 5 top root causes for cyber incidents to take place. So we try and bring all that to light with these 6 pillars, understand the infrastructure, understand the software and technology news, and understand the governance and best practices and security controls in place. And then we can use that as a roadmap for cyber risk strategy to be set, define better standards, and in the light of a financial loss potential that we also calculate for an event, we can help leadership to really right-size the spend, the priority of what to fix first, and what to cover through insurance or otherwise formally accept as a business risk. And those are things that are not very well captured as company records today. And that's what makes the difference when there is an incident and you do have in full-blown investigations going on and authorities comes in. So it can act like a career insurance and a company reputation insurance as well, that you can demonstrate that you were not negligent.
Okay, thank you. How does Maxxsure calculate the financial risk of different threats or overall threats?
So we bring forward a long-term view of all those financial effects that comes into play after a cyber event or cyber incident has occurred to the company, and it is multiple factors. So things like the actual cost of the cyber incident itself, the stand-up of a incident response team, bring in forensic experts, the cost of lost IP or trade secrets. We look at things like the cost of disruption and actual operational recovery cost to the operation, but also reputational damage in the form of what are the revenue dips that follow, what are the abnormal customer churn rates to expect that is going to impact you for a year or 2 years to regain market confidence. We also bring in estimates and calculations against things like fines and judgments that could come your way in the aftermath of a cyber incident.
Do you have a general feel for size of overall loss compared to company size? For example, I think I computed Equifax. Their overall costs were about $1 billion, of which a big chunk were litigation settlements, the majority of it, and then the rest was lawyers and IT experts and cyber experts and a bunch of other things. But for a small business, do you have your market sort of segmented between small enterprises and large ones? And if so, do you have a general feel for size losses?
We do have a lot of data and research that is derived from actual cyber data breach studies and actual cost numbers. And so we do classify data points into two categories of either what we call a mega breach, or for smaller and medium-sized businesses, there's another type of data costs or cost per data record that was lost, stolen, etc. So we do nuance the difference between a very sizable organization and small mid-size. And I may add that there is a disproportionate unfairness in the baseline cost of cleaning up according to law and regulation, cleaning up after a cyber incident, that the baseline cost is a handful of $1 million. And so for a smaller company, that's just a stepping stone getting in there. Then depending on how, the quantity of data records that was exposed or lost or stolen or breached or compromised, that will then also add on top of that. So the baseline cost just to clean up after an incident is unfair to small and medium-sized businesses compared to larger operations. That's some of our reflections on that.
Well, what industries are most at risk when it comes to cyber risk?
That's a great story as well, because a lot of evidence points to that. Some people think, and some companies think that, this doesn't happen to us, it happens to others. But all research and data point leads to that no industry is safe from cyber risk, because there's more to it than external bad actors. So the internal threats from existing and former employees, as I mentioned before, are two sizable ones. So no industry is safe and can feel that they can skip this as part of the overall enterprise duties to preserve and protect financial livelihood. There are some industries that are more desirable from an external nature, and there are some industries that have a higher dependency on technology and thereby digital business risk for inadvertent exposures or other mishaps to happen as well. So in particular, financial industry and healthcare, critical infrastructure, government, those types of industries that are known to house data for personal records that are easily marketable in the dark web and other places. Data crown jewel, digital crown jewel assessments that explains what is marketable and financially desirable for somebody to obtain. Those are the types of industries. And some of those industries already have regulatory demands around them, and others are still seeing the first few steps taking place in that direction from a legal perspective.
So hackers are interested in personal financial data, whether it's social security numbers, bank account numbers, credit card numbers, HIPAA records, healthcare records, whatever helps them make money. And then the ransom, they're also after, personal and corporate ransom when they lock down sites. Am I right about that?
Yeah, so if we are dealing with a malicious intent from bad actor, whether it's an internal disgruntled employee or a bad actor from outside, a cyber criminal, they will look at in what ways can they monetize the digital assets of the company. So it could be a three-stage strategy to compromise some of the operational environment, the IT environment, through emails or phishing or other ways to secure control over machine, then do reconnaissance, and then figure out what can I steal and monetize here. Can I sell trade secrets? Are there blueprints and R&D research that is costly and could be valuable to another competitor? Can I steal data records straight up and sell them on the dark web? Or can I at least ransomware the heck out of the operation and cash in that way? Or can I do all three, ending with a ransomware that kind of covers my tracks, and then I can escape in the aftermath of it easy? So it's not just one; all three can come into play, and they're often disguised by other events that are orchestrated to cover up everything.
Okay, thank you. And so there is a governance requirement, or there's a movement, it sounds like, where compliance for cyber risk practices is is a thing that's going to be more prevalent in the future. What is the SEC's effort currently to require boards of companies to quantify risk as part of their risk strategy and to report on their performance in the area of cyber risk?
Yeah, there's some interesting trends there as well. I mean, so at present we're seeing industry-specific regulatory requirements. SEC across industries have had some recent year recommendations and guidelines coming out that does recommend a company to include a cyber risk statement in their annual reporting practice. As of late January this year, they published an update and now have a very distinct set of baseline cyber resiliency standards that companies should observe and reflect upon as being best practices. And they should look in the mirror, as you said, to see are they aligning with those recommendations. The trend here is that it's moving towards more and more formal, specific things named, and we expect that in the coming 1, 2, maybe 3 years, that this will turn into an actual mandatory requirement to report on cyber risk as a whole for the organization, because it has such a impact on the financial livelihood of the organization and stock prices and other financial metrics. So that's where we see it going next.
Great. Well, this is all really great information and valuable, Jesper. If you are a CFO or a CEO or CIO and you're in charge of, you're one of the risk leaders of the company, if you want more information on, if you want the mirror held up for your cyber practices and a platform that will be sort of like a Sherpa to guide you through the 6 pillars and how to protect yourself and how to minimize your liability for not managing it properly or otherwise, reach out to Jesper Sahlberg at Maxxsure, Maxxsure, and he and his team will do a demo and walk you through it. Jesper, I really appreciate your time, your expertise. It's a good appetizer for this type of platform, and we'll have you back another time. This is Robert Band, your business finance expert. Until next time, be safe, and I'll see you soon.